Chosen one. Heaven has just gone silent around you, not in abandonment, but in divine anticipation. There is a stillness in the air that feels different. Like the moment before, a gate swings wide. Listen closely. This is not a random scroll you stumbled upon. This is an appointment written in eternity. God says, I am opening the door. And you, yes, you have 20 minutes to step through. You've felt it lately, haven't you? That strange urgency in your chest. That sense that something is about to shift. The winds in the spirit have changed direction. The same doors that refused to move for years are now trembling on their hinges. You've prayed. You've fasted. You've waited. And now, heaven whispers, move. Do not mistake this moment for coincidence. The divine clock has started. This isn't the kind of clock that measures seconds. It measures obedience. 20 heavenly minutes might not match earthly time, but they represent a window, a sacred interval where your yes carries supernatural power. Every second you hesitate. Doubt tries to step in. Every breath you waste. Fear tries to reason you out of your promise. But heaven has decided. The time for waiting is over. Beloved, you were never built for average motion. You were designed for divine timing. You are a vessel marked by precision. Every delay, every heartbreak, every disappointment that once looked like loss was actually synchronization. Heaven wasn't late, it was aligning you. You were never forgotten, you were being fortified. And now, God stands before the door and says, step. Oh, your obedience today will rewrite the script of your tomorrow. Do you understand the magnitude of this? This door does not open twice. Some doors in life are mercy, doors opened repeatedly until we learn. But this door is an assignment door. It carries destiny in its frame. It leads not just to blessing, but to purpose. That's why the warfare has been so intense lately, because the enemy knows if you cross this threshold, you'll never be the same again. You've been sensing the pressure building, haven't you? That's because the atmosphere recognizes transition before you do. The resistance you feel isn't punishment, it's proof that the promise is near. The closer you get to obedience, the louder the opposition becomes. But tonight, something sacred happens. Your faith becomes a key. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. That is your word for this very moment. God is giving you wings, not walls. He is calling you to rise, not retreat. You've walked long enough in circles. It's time to fly straight into destiny. Don't look back at the closed doors. They were closed to protect you, not punish you. Don't look at the people who left. They were released so you could enter without the weight of their doubt. This door is for you alone. Right now, heaven watches your reaction. Will you move or will you freeze? Will you scroll past this divine summons? Or will you say, I hear you, Lord? The door won't stay open forever. Every divine opportunity has an expiration of grace attached to it. This is one of those rare windows where heaven bends close to earth to partner with your obedience. So listen carefully. Chosen one, this is not a rehearsal. This is not another inspirational message to make you feel better. This is divine instruction. You've asked God to open a way, and now He has. But open doors are meaningless without decisive feet. The miracle is not the opening, it's the stepping. Lift your eyes now. See the light spilling through the frame. The air around it feels different, almost electric. That's the anointing, waiting for motion. You can feel it pulling at your spirit, calling you higher. The atmosphere says, now. Your heart knows it too. So before this 20-minute window closes, make your move. Declare your alignment publicly. Show heaven that you're ready. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, not for algorithms, but as a prophetic act of obedience. It's your public yes. It's your declaration that you won't miss your moment. Type below the number that marks your faith today. 777, the number of divine completion. The symbol that heaven is perfecting what concerns you. Let your comment be your covenant, your symbol of agreement with the door God has opened before you. You are not late. You are right on time. The clock is ticking, but it's ticking in your favor. Step through. Now. Chosen one. You can feel it. The weight of waiting finally shifting. The years that stretched endlessly behind you now tremble like a curtain being drawn aside. What once felt like delay is being rewritten as divine precision. Every unanswered prayer, every lonely night, every whispered, "How much longer?" Lord, has reached heaven's record. And today, you stand in the moment that once only lived in your dreams. You didn't imagine the ache. You didn't fabricate the fatigue. Heaven saw every time you kept walking while your feet bled. God watched as you smiled through disappointment, as you clung to faith when logic screamed it was over. You have carried the weight of unseen warfare, and the waiting nearly broke you, but that breaking became your birthing. There are two kinds of waiting, one that drains and one that develops. The first makes you bitter. The second makes you better. You have endured both, and you have learned what many never will, that the silence of God does not equal the absence of God. He was speaking even when he was silent. The waiting room was your classroom. Every pause was preparation. Every no was redirection. Every delay was design. Look back for a moment, not to dwell, but to discern. You see now how perfectly orchestrated your journey has been. The friendships that fell apart, the doors that refused to open, the opportunities that turned to dust, all of them were guardrails protecting your destiny from premature exposure. If you had received what you wanted when you wanted it, you would not have survived the weight of it. Heaven withheld to preserve you. You wondered why God didn't move faster. You questioned if maybe you had missed your season, but time has always bent around your assignment. You are not behind. You are right where eternity marked your name. Even the detours were divine. When you cried out for rescue, heaven was not ignoring you, it was rerouting you. The waiting forged something sacred inside you. It refined your motives. It stripped away the need for approval, the addiction to being understood. It made your faith quiet but unbreakable. You learned to believe without evidence, to trust without clarity, to love God even when he felt distant. That kind of faith terrifies darkness because it cannot be manipulated. It is born in fire. There were nights when you wanted to give up. You whispered into the void, "If this is all there is, maybe I've misheard you." But heaven never panicked. God knew. Your breaking point was also your becoming point. Every tear watered a seed of glory. Every moment of silence was the breath before breakthrough. And now, The air feels heavy with fulfillment. The atmosphere itself seems to lean toward you, whispering that what once was delayed is now being delivered. Waiting time was never wasted time. It was sacred construction. You thought you were standing still, but heaven was building your foundation in secret. You see, chosen one, the weight of waiting produces a kind of faith that cannot be imitated. It's the faith that whispers, "Even if he slays me, yet will I trust him." It's the faith that doesn't need proof to praise. It's the kind that moves heaven, not by volume, but by authenticity. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 27, verse 14. Wait for the Lord, be strong, and take heart, and wait for the Lord. That verse is not a suggestion, it is a spiritual strategy. Waiting with strength is not passive, it's warfare. Every time you chose to trust instead of panic, you were warring against hell's narrative. Every time you refused to settle, you reminded the enemy that you still believed in promise. Waiting was never punishment, it was preparation for capacity. Now, heaven begins to lift the weight. You feel the tension that once pressed against your chest begin to ease. This is what divine timing feels like, release after refinement. The same God who kept you hidden is now about to display you. But the difference is this: you no longer need to be seen. You are content to be sent. The weight of waiting taught you that visibility is not validation. You no longer crave applause, you crave alignment. You understand now that destiny cannot be rushed because destiny has roots. If it grows too fast, it withers. But because you waited, your roots run deep. When the winds of opposition blow again, and they will, you will not break. You can almost hear heaven whisper, "Well done," not because you were perfect, but because you stayed, because you didn't walk away when it made no sense, because you chose faith over fear, patience over panic. The weight you carried will soon become the wings you rise on. This is the paradox of the chosen. Before they soar, they must sit before the crown. There is always a season of crushing before the promise manifests. There must be proof of endurance. And you, beloved, have endured, chosen one. The years of silence were not wasted. They were sharpening you. Heaven has been building in you what ordinary seasons could never shape. Every storm carved wisdom into your soul. Every heartbreak softened your discernment. Every lonely prayer strengthened the muscles of your faith. What felt like isolation was actually initiation. You are stepping into a chapter that was written long before your birth. And now that you've learned to recognize the rhythm of divine timing, you are ready to see what those hidden years were really about. Nothing was random. Every closed door was a reroute to protection. Every no was a hidden not yet. You are realizing now that you were never waiting for opportunity. Opportunity was waiting for you to mature. Heaven could not release the blessing until the weight of it would no longer crush you. Waiting was the womb that birthed resilience. Now you stand at the edge of manifestation, holding the understanding that only the refined can carry revelation. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." This is the posture that unlocked your door, the surrender that confuses logic but delights heaven. You trusted when nothing made sense. You leaned on grace when knowledge failed you. You held your peace when your flesh wanted proof. That is why heaven calls you chosen, because you obeyed, when obedience cost you everything. Look back one more time. You'll see that the people who walked away were never meant to walk this far. They were chapters, not the full story. Some had to leave so you could learn to stand. Some betrayed you so you could learn to bless. You didn't lose, you were refined. What they meant for evil, heaven recycled for destiny. There were nights you questioned your worth. Days, you wondered if your prayers mattered. But look at you now, still standing, still believing, still expecting. That is the evidence of divine favor. You have passed through fire, and yet not burned. You have walked through waters, and yet not drowned. The same hands that held you in the waiting are now pushing you into promise. Now listen closely, because this is important before you move forward. Heaven asks you to seal this revelation with agreement, not with emotion, but with declaration. The enemy fears a believer who speaks. Silent faith shakes nothing, but spoken faith shifts atmospheres. Right now, in this moment, type these words below as a sign that you're aligning your voice with heaven's purpose. I choose light. When you comment that, you are not typing for attention. You are making a spiritual statement. You are saying, I will no longer agree with darkness, doubt, or delay. You are declaring that your heart will follow the light even when the path is uncertain. Those 3 words are not just affirmation, they are activation. Because, chosen one, you were born to carry light. It's not something you turn on and off. It's who you are. You disrupt darkness by simply existing. That's why you've been misunderstood, resisted, and even attacked. Your presence exposes what others hide. But heaven has not called you to dim down. Heaven has called you to shine louder. And the waiting season you just survived has only made that light brighter. What others saw as a pause was actually your polishing. You learned humility in the hidden place, patience in the pain, and discernment in the drought. Those lessons will guard you when new doors open. When you say, I choose light, you are choosing vision over vengeance, purpose over pride, faith over fear. You are choosing to walk through the open door with peace instead of pressure, with grace instead of guilt. You are choosing to step into this new era with eyes fixed not on what's behind you, but on the glory before you. The time for hesitation has passed. Heaven has already decided in your favor. All that remains is your yes, and you've already proven you can say it. So take a breath. Chosen one, you made it through the waiting. The lessons are sealed in your heart. Now, light your torch and keep walking forward. Your story is about to illuminate others who still sit in darkness. The endurance that nearly broke you will soon become their blueprint. That's how heaven multiplies testimony through the ones who never stopped believing. You are one of them. You are proof that God's promises never expire, only mature. Hold your head high. The light you've chosen will lead you exactly where grace intends. Chosen one. When heaven opens a door, not every opportunity that appears before you is meant to be walked through. The spiritual realm is alive with movement, and the enemy, too, knows how to craft imitations that look like blessings but lead to bondage. This is why discernment becomes your most precious weapon. Recognizing the true door from the counterfeit, one determines not just your direction, but your destiny. You've seen this before. Something looks perfect from the outside, feels right in the moment, even seems to line up with your prayers, yet somewhere deep inside, a whisper warns you to wait. That whisper is the Holy Spirit, not trying to delay you, but trying to deliver you. Not every open path is a God path. Some are traps wearing the mask of timing. Every counterfeit door promises ease, while every divine door demands faith. The false ones flatter your ego. The true ones stretch your obedience. The imitation always speaks to your flesh, but the authentic one calls to your spirit. That is the dividing line. You must learn to listen deeper than your emotions. Emotions fluctuate. Discernment anchors. When you are near a true door, peace will wrap around your heart, even when logic protests. When you approach a counterfeit door, excitement may surge, but confusion will soon follow. Peace never contradicts truth, it confirms it. There is a holy stillness that accompanies God's openings, the kind that doesn't need validation or applause. It's the quiet knowing that even if no one else understands, heaven approves. Sometimes that means walking away from what seems good in order to wait for what is God, according to what is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 9, I am the door. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. That is the divine standard. Every genuine opportunity will lead you deeper into the presence of Christ. It will align your steps with His peace, not with your pressure. It will draw you closer to purpose, not pull you toward distraction. If the door leads you away from stillness, it's not His. Many have mistaken momentum for direction, but speed means nothing if you're running toward the wrong door. Sometimes heaven slows your steps not to punish you, but to protect you. You may think the delay is denial, but God is simply waiting until your discernment catches up with your desire. You are being trained to recognize frequency, not appearance. The voice of God carries weight, not noise. It doesn't rush, it resonates. That's how you'll know when the right door stands before you. It won't demand that you prove your worth. It will confirm that you already are worthy. There's a difference between an open door and an unlocked trap. Counterfeits often arrive with flattery, promising shortcuts to purpose. But divine doors usually come disguised as responsibility. They ask more of you, not less. They require surrender, not striving. Think of it this way. Counterfeit doors shine to distract. Divine doors glow to guide. Counterfeit doors appeal to the impatient. Divine doors invite the prepared. The false ones whisper, "You deserve this now." The true ones declare, "You've been refined for this moment." And when you finally stand before the right door, you'll know it. You won't need to knock it down. It will recognize your presence. Heaven-coded doors open only to heaven-marked people. They respond to the oil on your life, to the prayers you've prayed in secret, to the tears that watered your obedience. So, don't panic. If certain doors close without explanation, some were never meant for you. Some were tests to see if you'd settle. If you could see what was waiting on the other side of those almosts, you'd thank God for every no. Heaven protects destiny by withholding access until character catches up. And you, chosen one, are being entrusted with that character now. You are learning to discern not by sight, but by spirit. You are learning that a glowing opportunity can still be a trap, and a quiet invitation can still hold glory. The mature don't chase noise, they follow peace. It is a sacred skill, cultivated through silence and shaped through intimacy. You are learning to pause before you proceed, to pray before you pursue. Every moment of discernment strengthens your authority. Every decision made from stillness multiplies your stability. So, walk slowly. Let peace be your compass. When the right door appears, you won't need to force it. The handle will turn at your touch, because heaven already scripted your arrival. Until then, keep your spirit sharp, your motives pure, and your heart guarded. The counterfeit can mimic the look of destiny, but never its fragrance. Destiny always carries the scent of divine timing, and it never fades. Chosen one. Feel the tension in the air. It's not fear. It's birth. The door stands open before you. But something stirs in the unseen. Every time heaven opens a path, darkness builds a wall. You are standing in the middle of that holy collision, the threshold between promise and opposition. The battle at the threshold is always the fiercest, because the enemy cannot follow you through what heaven opens. He knows that if you step forward, his grip on your past will dissolve. That is why confusion rises now. That is why distractions appear more intense. Why voices from yesterday suddenly reappear. It's not coincidence, it's resistance. The moment you decided to obey, you became a threat. But you must understand this truth. The warfare is not a sign that you are losing, it's a sign that you're advancing. Pressure is proof of proximity. The closer you are to break through, the louder hell becomes. You've likely felt it in your emotions, a strange heaviness, a wave of tiredness just when hope begins to spark again. That's not fatigue, that's interference. The enemy always attacks strength at the door because once you step through, he loses jurisdiction. But hear this clearly, the door God opens, no darkness can close. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." La. Imagine a seed underground. Before it breaks the surface, the soil around it must break open. That pressure feels like death, but it's actually growth. That's what you're feeling now, the soil of your past cracking so the promise inside you can emerge. The battle isn't punishment, it's preparation for visibility. There is something about thresholds that test obedience. They reveal who truly believes. It's easy to praise in the promise, but worship at the doorway requires trust. You can't see the full picture yet, but you can sense the pull of heaven urging you forward. You are not fighting flesh, you are fighting for focus. That's the real battlefield. If the enemy can't stop you physically, he'll distract you mentally. He'll whisper, "Maybe this isn't the right door," or "You're not ready yet." But heaven says otherwise. Heaven says, you've already been equipped through the fire, refined through the waiting, strengthened through the silence. You are ready. And while this may feel like a solo journey, you are not alone. Every step you take becomes a light for others walking behind you. Your courage creates a trail through the darkness. There are souls who will find their way because you refuse to retreat. Chosen one. Sometimes all heaven needs is your movement. Even the smallest step toward faith can split a sea. When Moses lifted his staff, waters obeyed. When David ran toward Goliath, fear fell silent. When you choose obedience over comfort, the atmosphere shifts in your favor. Right now, as you listen to this, I want you to take a breath. Feel the weight of glory pressing on your chest. That's not anxiety, that's anointing awakening. Heaven is stirring you to move. And before you do, let's pause together, heart to heart. If this message is resonating deep within you, don't keep it hidden. Light was never meant to be contained. When you share, you don't just spread words, you release waves of awakening. So, as an act of faith, share this message with someone who might be standing at their own door, unsure whether to move. Your small gesture could be their confirmation. When you like or subscribe, don't do it as routine, do it as remembrance. It's your way of saying, I'm staying aligned with the voice that keeps calling me higher. Now, every time you connect, you're joining a family of others who hear the same whisper. You are not scrolling alone, you are journeying with a tribe of the chosen. Together, we hold torches in the dark. Together, we remind each other that every door of destiny comes with a battle, but also with a promise. So let this moment settle in your spirit. You are standing at the threshold. Yes, but you are not trembling in fear. You are standing in authority. You've been through too much to doubt now. The hand that opened the door will guide you through it. The same God who called you will sustain you. Take courage. Chosen one. The noise around you is not a warning, it's an announcement. Heaven is making room for your arrival. You are not behind. You are right on schedule. Step forward with grace. Move with faith. And let your light echo into eternity. The battle is fierce, but victory has already been signed in heaven's ink. Chosen one. Heaven is counting down. The divine clock continues to turn. Not with the urgency of fear, but with the rhythm of destiny. The sound you hear in your spirit, the pulse that feels almost like a heartbeat, is heaven's reminder that timing and obedience are intertwined. This is your prophetic countdown. The moment where faith and movement collide. You have walked through storms, learned to discern true doors from false ones, and now you stand before a doorway pulsing with light. You can feel it calling you forward, but heaven pauses to measure your response. Every second in this sacred space is an invitation to alignment. Heaven is asking, will you move when I say move? You might not realize it, but every act of faith reverberates in eternity. Angels take note when you choose obedience over hesitation. Your yes sends ripples into realms unseen. The sound of faith is louder than thunder to the ears of heaven. According to what is revealed in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, this day I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. Oh, you can sense it even now, can't you? That pull in your spirit, that ache in your chest, that says, it's time. You've come too far to pause now. Every prayer, every tear, every sleepless night has built momentum for this moment. Heaven doesn't want your perfection, it wants your participation. Beloved, this is your prophetic countdown, not in minutes or hours, but in conviction. Heaven is waiting to hear the sound of your agreement. God has already released the instruction. What remains is your echo. So right now, as a prophetic act of faith, type 888 inches, the comments below, not as superstition, not as a ritual, but as a covenant. The number 8 represents new beginnings, the cycle of completion breaking open into creation. It is heaven's symbol of renewal. When you type it, You are not just pressing keys, you are pressing into alignment. You are declaring, I choose life. I choose obedience. I choose to step through the door. And your comment is not noise, it is notation. It becomes part of the symphony heaven hears when the chosen agree with purpose. It's your fingerprint on this divine moment. Proof that you were present when heaven called. Think of it like this. When a king seals a decree, he leaves a mark, a symbol of authority that no one can erase. That is what your declaration becomes. When you write 888, you're stamping your agreement with the timing of heaven. You're saying, I am ready for my new beginning. And once you do, something shifts. Not in the physical first, but in the atmosphere around you. Angels respond to obedience. The heavens register movement. A new alignment begins to form. Doors that were once invisible start to shimmer into sight. The favor you couldn't access before begins to flow. Chosen one. Don't underestimate symbolic obedience. Every small act of faith is recorded. Every word of agreement becomes a seed of manifestation. Heaven measures sincerity, not spectacle. You don't need to shout your yes. Whispering it in faith is enough to shake realms. This prophetic countdown is not a warning, it's a gift. It's heaven saying, I've prepared it. Now, prepare yourself. It's the reminder that your obedience activates divine timing. When you move, God multiplies your motion. When you believe, heaven begins to build. So breathe deeply. Let peace steady your heartbeat. You are standing in a holy moment, surrounded by unseen witnesses cheering you forward. The countdown isn't rushing you, it's readying you. The door ahead will not remain open forever, but it will stay open long enough for the obedient to enter. Heaven is not silent. The winds in the spirit are moving, swirling, shifting, carrying your name in their song. You are being positioned in places you once prayed to reach. You are being aligned with assignments that carry eternal weight. Every moment from now until the end of this countdown is sacred, so take it seriously. But not fearfully. You're not being tested, you're being trusted. God trusts you enough to give you this moment. The very fact that you can hear this call means you are one of the few who are aware of time's holiness. This is the countdown. Chosen one. Heaven's clock is ticking softly, not to scare you, but to synchronize you. Step forward while the light is still golden, while the air still hums with grace. Type 888 below as your mark of faith, your symbol of divine agreement. Heaven is watching, waiting, ready. The next move is yours. Chosen one. Sometimes the voice of God does not come like thunder. It doesn't always shake the earth or split the skies. Often, it arrives like a whisper, gentle, steady, and unmistakably personal. It doesn't demand attention. It draws your heart to stillness. That whisper you've been sensing lately, the one that interrupts your thoughts with sudden clarity, that is the voice behind you. Heaven rarely shouts, because intimacy doesn't need volume. God speaks in the kind of tone that only those who have learned to listen can recognize. And you, chosen one, have learned to listen. Through storms, through silence, through sorrow, you trained your ears to hear heaven's rhythm. There were moments when you doubted whether it was really him speaking. The signs didn't come with fireworks or visions, just a simple knowing that refused to leave. But that knowing was not your imagination, it was revelation. The Spirit was guiding you quietly, teaching you to trust His presence even when there was no proof. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Elijah in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. 1. That verse describes your journey perfectly. You've searched for God in the noise, in signs, in breakthroughs, in validation, but He was waiting for you in the whisper. The fire, the wind, the shaking, they were never meant to reveal Him. They were meant to remove the distractions so you could finally hear Him clearly. And now that you have, everything feels different. The same storms that once terrified you no longer move you, because you've learned to locate peace within the chaos. You know now that His presence is not proven by absence of trouble, but by the calm inside it. You no longer chase confirmation, you walk in confidence. You've discovered that obedience doesn't always make sense, but it always makes way. You've said yes when logic screamed no. You've followed whispers that led you into unfamiliar terrain. And yet, every time, grace met you there. That is the proof of divine guidance. It never leaves you stranded. The voice behind you is not just direction, it is protection. When God speaks, He's not only leading you forward, He's shielding you from what could destroy you if you turned aside. You don't always realize what He's rescuing you from, because His protection is often invisible. Some of the greatest miracles are the disasters that never reached you. Sometimes that voice feels like conviction, other times like comfort. But whether it soothes or corrects, it always leads toward restoration. When heaven whispers, "Not yet," it's never rejection, it's refinement. When He says, "Turn," it's not to confuse you, it's to keep you aligned with the current of destiny. And chosen one. The more you listen, the more fluent you become in heaven's language. You begin to sense His tone in the smallest details, a stranger's kindness, a delayed flight, a quiet morning. You begin to realize that the voice of God is not limited to words, it flows through patterns, timing, and even interruptions. You've also learned that obedience doesn't always earn applause. Sometimes it earns isolation. You followed the whisper when others mocked it. You kept walking when they stayed comfortable. That's what sets you apart. You don't need external confirmation to keep moving. You've tasted the safety of the shepherd's voice, and no imitation can deceive you now. Still, there will be days when you struggle to hear clearly. Don't let that silence shake you. Heaven's silence is not absence, it's intimacy deepening. When God grows quiet, it's because He trusts you to walk by what He's already spoken. You're no longer being spoon-fed revelation, you're being trained to walk in it. So when the noise of life grows loud again, pause it. Turn your attention inward, where His Spirit resides. He will not compete for your attention, but He will wait for it. And when you listen, really listen, the whisper will return, familiar, gentle, unmistakable. That voice will lead you into places your mind could never plan for. It will guide you through valleys that others fear. It will speak when everyone else falls silent. And every time you obey, that voice grows clearer, stronger, more intimate. You are not lost. Chosen one. You are being led. Every detour, every delay, every redirection has been the shepherd's hand guiding your path. The whisper is not behind you to haunt you. It's there to anchor you. It reminds you where you came from, and it keeps your heart steady as you step into where you are going. So breathe and listen again. The voice behind you is not done speaking. Heaven still has more to say. Chosen one. Do you feel the tremor in the air, the subtle pull between stillness and movement? It is the moment where mercy and decision meet. The door that once stood open before you remains illuminated. Yet the light flickers faintly now, as though heaven waits for your choice. This is not punishment, it is holy precision. Divine timing demands response. You have felt the whispers urging you to move, and yet hesitation still lingers like fog around your feet. There is a sacred danger in hesitation. It appears harmless at first, just a moment to think, a pause to process, but in the spiritual realm, delay carries weight. When God says, now, every second beyond that command begins to lose grace. The longer you wait, the more room fear has to plant its seeds. The story of delay is as old as humanity itself. From the beginning, heaven's greatest invitations have always come with a test of immediacy. When Noah heard God's voice, he built without proof of rain. When Abraham was told to leave his home, he walked without destination. When Peter saw Jesus on the water, he stepped without understanding. Every act of faith required instant movement. The longer the mind reasons, the quieter the spirit feels. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 6. The Lord our God said to us at Horeb, "You have stayed long enough at this mountain." Now, those words echo through eternity, addressing not geography, but mindset. You have lingered long enough in cycles of fear, in patterns of overthinking, in valleys of doubt. Heaven's call is not casual, it is a command to rise. Staying still when God has said move becomes disobedience, disguised as caution. Hesitation is often born from wounds. You've been disappointed before, misled by false promises, hurt by closed doors. Your mind says, "What if it happens again?" But faith does not live in the memory of what went wrong. It lives in the assurance of who God is. The one who opens doors does not set traps. The invitation to step through is not a setup for failure, it's an upgrade into fulfillment. Still, the heart resists. You tell yourself, maybe later, unaware that delay is a thief. Every time you postpone obedience, you invite stagnation to sit where purpose should stand. The enemy doesn't always need to destroy you. Sometimes he only needs to distract you until time runs out. Chosen one. Mercy has been patient with you, but mercy is not indefinite. Grace holds doors open, but purpose cannot wait forever. Every open window has a closing wind. That is why heaven stirs urgency in your spirit. It's not anxiety, it's alignment. The timing of heaven is precise, and when you move in sync with it, everything flows. When you resist it, even blessings begin to feel heavy. Hesitation doesn't only slow your progress, it reshapes your perception. The longer you stare at the door, the more you begin to imagine barriers that don't exist. You start to analyze possibilities that were never meant to be calculated. Faith becomes buried under logic, and the voice of God is drowned by the noise of your reasoning. You must remember, obedience will always cost something, but disobedience costs everything. The price of movement might be uncertainty, but the price of hesitation is missed destiny. Every great shift in Scripture happened when someone dared to move with divine timing. not after it. And this is where you stand now, between almost and arrival. The Spirit has already whispered your instructions. Heaven has confirmed your readiness. The only thing left to decide is whether you will remain at the mountain of familiarity or walk into the valley of fulfillment. God is not angry with your slowness. He understands your fear. But He loves you too much to let you remain stagnant. The whisper you keep hearing is His mercy, trying to guide you before the window closes. When you finally step forward, you will realize something profound. The moment you move, fear loses its language. Doubt cannot follow motion. The same voice that trembled in hesitation will roar with confidence once it's obeyed. This is not the time to wait for perfect clarity. It's the time to trust perfect guidance. You've heard enough, seen enough, prayed enough. The cloud is lifting, the wind is shifting, and heaven is saying again, "You've stayed long enough at this mountain." End quote. So, steady your heart, silence your fears, and prepare to step. For every second you move in obedience, heaven moves tenfold in your favor. The timing of God is not about convenience, it's about calling, and your calling, chosen one, is waiting just beyond the edge of hesitation. Chosen one. The air feels charged, almost electric. You've stood before this open door long enough to feel the pull of heaven deep in your bones. You've wrestled with hesitation. You've discerned the difference between true and false doors. And now the Spirit begins to stir again, urging you to speak. Because in this next phase of the journey, silence will no longer serve you. Heaven moves at the sound of agreement. The words you release carry more power than you've ever realized. Every phrase you speak in faith becomes a seed sown into eternity. Every declaration made in alignment with God's voice sends light into darkness and shakes the atmosphere around you. You are not simply praying, you are legislating in the Spirit. The authority that has been forming inside you through the waiting and the refining is now ready to be used. You must understand that speech is creation. God Himself formed the world with words. The same Spirit that hovered over the void now hovers over your voice, waiting for the command of faith. When you speak in obedience, heaven responds. When you stay silent, you leave creation unfinished. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 13, "It is written, I believed, therefore I have spoken." We have that same faith. We believe and therefore speak. There are moments when the enemy cannot be reasoned with, only resisted, and resistance begins in your mouth. You do not fight darkness by analyzing it, you expel it with light. You do not beg for victory, you announce it. Heaven responds to the sound of conviction, not confusion. That is why, right now, you are being called to make a simple but powerful declaration. Type these words below as your public alignment with heaven's voice. I stand firm. 3 words. But they carry the weight of heaven's authority. When you write them, you're not just commenting, you're creating a covenant. You are saying, I refuse to be shaken by fear. I will not bow to confusion. I will not return to hesitation. You are planting your feet spiritually, anchoring your soul in the presence of God. I stand firm means that no matter what storms come, you remain rooted. It means your emotions no longer dictate your obedience. It means you've reached the point where belief has matured into boldness. When you type those words, imagine yourself as a tree planted by living water, its roots deep, its branches unbent. its fruit untouched by drought. Every generation of believers has had to make this choice. The early church stood firm in persecution. The prophets stood firm in isolation. Even Jesus, in Gethsemane, stood firm in surrender. You are part of that lineage now, the generation of the steadfast, those who refuse to bow when the winds of fear blow hardest. Your declaration may seem small, but in the spirit realm, it echoes loudly. Angels take note. Darkness trembles. The sound of "I stand firm" travels farther than you know it, reverberates into your future, into your lineage, into the atmosphere of your home. You are drawing a line in the sand, saying, "From this moment on, I cannot be moved." Oh, and once you declare it, peace begins to fill the space that fear once occupied, because the act of standing is not just endurance, it's warfare. The enemy thrives on movement, on chaos, panic, indecision. But when you stand still in faith, you disarm him. Your stillness becomes strength. So, chosen one, say it again, if only in your heart. I stand firm. Say it when your emotions tremble. Say it when you can't see progress. Say it when doubt whispers its lies. Every time you declare it, heaven reinforces your footing. You are not standing alone. You are surrounded by witnesses, saints, angels, and those who have gone before you, cheering as you hold your ground. You are the continuation of their faith, the living proof that their prayers were not in vain. Standing firm doesn't mean refusing to move when God calls. It means refusing to retreat when fear calls louder. It means remaining anchored in truth, even when the world shifts beneath your feet. It means trusting that the same God who brought you this far will sustain you through whatever comes next. So breathe deeply and declare it one last time with conviction, with courage, with clarity. I stand firm. Let heaven record your words. Let the earth bear witness. You have crossed from belief into embodiment, and from this moment forward, nothing will move you. Chosen one. The door before you gleams like fire under the morning sun. It is beautiful. Yes, but beauty can be deceiving. This is no door of comfort. This is the door of assignment. You've prayed for breakthrough, but heaven is giving you responsibility. You've asked for rest, but heaven is offering a sword. For the ones who step through are not entering luxury, they are entering legacy. The door and the sword always come together. Every divine invitation carries a spiritual weapon hidden in its frame. God never opens a way without also arming the one who walks it. The sword you carry is not made of metal, it's forged in faith, in endurance, in truth. Every tear that fell in your wilderness became steel. Every prayer that felt unanswered became fire on the blade. You are no longer just a believer, you are a warrior carrying light into enemy territory. The ancient words recorded in Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 17, declare, "Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God." That sword, your discernment, your voice, your faith is the tool heaven places in your hand as you cross this threshold. You will need it, not to harm, but to cut through illusion. You will use it to separate truth from deception, to guard what is sacred, and to lead others who are still trapped behind their own doors of fear. Stepping through doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means purpose finally becomes visible. You are moving from waiting to warfare, from silence to significance. The anointing that rests on your life attracts both favor and friction, and you must learn to carry both with grace. But remember this: every battle you face is proof that you have entered the territory you were born to claim. The path ahead is not paved with applause. It is lined with testing. Yet even there, heaven will not leave you unequipped. You have a sword, a light, and a song. The sword cuts through darkness. The light guides your steps. And the song reminds you who you are when the night grows long. Think of this journey like a bridge stretching across a chasm. The bridge is narrow and sways with the wind, but it is the only way forward. Some stop halfway, too afraid to continue. Others retreat because the fog hides the destination. But those who keep walking one trembling step at a time are the ones who eventually see the sunrise waiting on the other side. And while you walk, remember, you are not walking unseen. There are eyes upon you, not of judgment, but of hope. There are souls still standing in the shadows, waiting to see if someone can make it through. Your courage becomes their confirmation. Your perseverance becomes their map. That's how heaven multiplies purpose through those who dare to walk publicly in obedience. So if these words find you, if they resonate with the quiet stir inside your chest, I want to invite you not as a performer, but as a participant to keep the fire moving. When you like this message, it is not just a gesture, it is an agreement. It tells heaven, I recognize truth when I hear it. When you share it, you pass the torch to another soul standing at their own door. You never know whose midnight this light might reach. And when you subscribe, think of it not as joining a list, but as anchoring yourself to a stream of divine reminders, like a traveler returning to the well each day for living water. You are choosing to stay close to the flow that nourishes your faith. This space is not about numbers, it's about nourishment. It's about creating a circle of flame, where every chosen one adds their spark until the whole world begins to glow again. The door and the sword are heaven's symbols of trust. God doesn't place weapons in careless hands. He gives them to those who have proven they won't use them for ego, but for purpose. That's you. The reason you were refined in fire was not to destroy, but to defend, to protect what is holy, to carry peace where chaos has reigned. So as you stand now, blood gleaming in invisible light, remember, this is not the end of your waiting, it's the beginning of your wielding. The door before you doesn't lead away from responsibility, it leads into your true authority. And when you step through, every promise that once felt distant will rise to meet you. Lift your head. Tighten your grip. The sword of the Spirit is alive in your hand, and heaven's light guides your steps. Walk forward. Chosen one, the door is open. The battle is blessed, and your destiny is waiting on the other side. Chosen one. Every calling carries a moment when heaven tests obedience, not to expose weakness, but to strengthen trust. After the door opens and the sword is placed in your hand, there comes a sacred silence, a season when you must walk by faith without applause or confirmation. It is here, in the quiet corridors of obedience, that true alignment is proven. Obedience is not merely hearing, it is movement. It is choosing the voice of God over the volume of logic. It is acting without full understanding, trusting that revelation will follow motion. This is how heaven measures readiness, not by your excitement, but by your surrender. The greatest proofs of faith are often hidden in invisible acts. You have already crossed thresholds of faith before, but this one feels different. There is a stillness that surrounds it, a kind of holiness that demands reverence. God is not testing your ability to act, He's testing your ability to remain. You have proven you can start, but now He is asking if you can stay steady, faithful, unshaken when the emotions fade and the evidence disappears. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 24, "Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock." That is the essence of obedience. You build your life not on shifting sand, not on trends or opinions, but on the rock of revelation. Every instruction you obey becomes another stone in the foundation beneath you. When storms come, and they will, you will not crumble, because your structure was forged in surrender. But obedience rarely feels glorious while it's happening. It often feels costly, inconvenient, misunderstood. You may find yourself doing things that others mock or cannot comprehend. They may say, "Why waste your time? Why take that risk? Why keep believing?" Yet obedience doesn't consult the opinions of the crowd. It consults the voice of the King. You must remember that God's timing and direction will rarely fit human logic. His instructions often arrive like riddles to the natural mind. He tells Noah to build an ark without rain. He tells Joshua to march in silence instead of fighting. He tells Peter to cast a net where he's already failed. And every time, the obedient are proven right, not by reason, but by results. Chosen one. Your obedience is not just about your blessing, it's about your witness. There are people attached to your yes. There are generations waiting for the ripple effect of your surrender. What you do in private echoes in eternity. When you obey in silence, heaven shouts in response. Sometimes obedience will lead you to places that look like endings, but they're actually beginnings in disguise. It may ask you to release what you love, to forgive what still hurts, to speak when your voice shakes, or to walk away when everything in you wants to stay. Every act of obedience is a door disguised as sacrifice. You have likely already discovered that when you say yes to God, something within you breaks, and that breaking is holy. It's not the shattering of identity, it's the shedding of limitation. Every time you obey, a layer of fear falls away, and what remains is faith refined like gold. Do not fear the silence that follows obedience. Heaven often goes quiet right after your yes. It is not abandonment, it's observation. The teacher doesn't speak during the test, because the instructions have already been given. God steps back to see if you will trust what He said when the room was filled with His voice. And when you do, something remarkable happens. The silence becomes sanctuary. You realize you are no longer performing for God's approval. You are partnering with His purpose. Obedience becomes less of a duty and more of a delight. It's not a heavy yoke, it's a sacred rhythm. You begin to sense His pleasure in your faithfulness. That quiet joy that says, "You did exactly what I asked." And even though no one may see it, heaven takes record of every act, every decision, every step. There is not a single moment of obedience that goes unnoticed. So, walk with quiet confidence. Chosen one. You don't need the validation of the crowd to continue. Your steps are being ordered. Your obedience is being witnessed, and your name is being whispered in heaven's halls. The one who called you is faithful, and every act of surrender becomes another thread in the tapestry of destiny. Keep building on the rock. Keep walking when it's lonely. Keep obeying when it's costly. Because in the end, obedience always outlasts opposition. Chosen one. You can feel it, the air around you shifting again. The door that once stood as an invitation is now a threshold glowing with urgency. The countdown is almost complete. Heaven has waited patiently for your yes. But now the sound of final seconds fills the atmosphere. You are not late, but you are standing in a divine moment that will not wait forever. There are moments in history where heaven pauses, where eternity leans close and listens for one voice, the voice of obedience. This is one of those moments. The instruction has already been given. The confirmation has already been whispered. All that remains now is your action. You can sense the acceleration, can't you? What once moved slowly now feels like it's racing. Things that took years to shift are suddenly aligning in hours. The Spirit is moving quickly because grace is making up for lost time. Heaven is redeeming what delay tried to steal. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11 declare, "The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." End 1. This is not merely about eternity, it's about awareness. God is saying, wake up, not because you've been asleep physically, but because you've been lulled by routine, by disappointment, by distraction. But heaven is shaking you gently now, saying, rise, beloved, it's time. Or, you've already done the hardest part. You've endured the waiting, the testing, the refining. But the door doesn't reward those who only endure, it opens for those who move. The moment you take your first step, heaven begins to release acceleration. What took others decades will take you days, because obedience compresses time. Still, heaven doesn't rush you in panic, it invites you in partnership. The call is not harsh, it's holy. You are not being forced, you are being favored. The hand of God is extended, but it will not drag you forward. He waits for your agreement, for your declaration that says, I am ready. End quote. So right now, as a prophetic act of faith, type 111 below, not as a ritual or repetition, but as a sign of divine alignment. 111, the Trinity of Unity, the pattern of oneness between heaven, earth, and your spirit. When you write it, you are declaring, I align myself with divine timing. I step into oneness with heaven's plan. I choose to move. And each one symbolizes a door. The first represents the door of faith. You've already walked through it when you believed. The second is the door of obedience. You're standing before it now. The third is the door of manifestation. What you will see once you cross this line of hesitation. When you type 111, you're not just joining an act of expression, you're engaging in an act of creation. Heaven recognizes unity. When chosen ones across nations declare in one voice, I am aligned, the spiritual atmosphere shifts. Walls begin to tremble. Opportunities unlock. Grace begins to flow like a river. This number, this declaration, is heaven's reminder that alignment is the key to acceleration. You don't have to strive for what's yours. You simply have to stand in position, and your comment, as small as it may seem, is your positioning. It's your way of saying, count me in. Lord, let your timing unfold in me. End of Kli. Chosen one. There's a rhythm to divine moments. The more you listen, the more you sense that rhythm growing stronger now. This isn't random, it's rehearsal for revelation. The same spirit that hovered over the waters in Genesis now hovers over your decision, waiting for the sound of your yes. This window is not about fear, it's about fulfillment. The countdown is not punishment, it's prophecy. God is not rushing you, He is releasing you. Every delay that once confused you now makes sense. Because you had to be shaped for this very moment. You had to become the version of yourself that could handle what's coming. And what's coming, beloved, is not small. It's not ordinary. It's the kind of movement that redefines families, breaks generational cycles, and opens pathways for those who come after you. When you obey, you're not just stepping through your door, you're unlocking doors for others. So do not shrink back. Do not wait for more confirmation. The confirmation is this moment itself, the fact that your spirit stirs while reading these words. Heaven is saying, go. Lo, the last seconds of the countdown belong to courage. The door is open. The timing is right. And the invitation is holy. Type 111 as your seal of alignment, your whisper of readiness, your signal to heaven that you have heard and you will obey. You've waited long enough. The countdown is ending. Now begins the crossing. Chosen one. The air is different now. Something shifts the moment you step through. The ground beneath your feet feels alive, as though creation itself recognizes your obedience. The door behind you fades, not closing in rejection, but sealing in completion. What once seemed impossible now unfolds with ease. You have crossed the threshold. This is what obedience feels like, wait and wonder at once. You can sense heaven breathing around you, whispering through every movement. The moment you said yes, realms opened, angles moved. The atmosphere that once resisted you now cooperates with your calling. You haven't just entered a new season, you've entered a new spiritual altitude. It's hard to describe this transition to others because it's not visible to the natural eye. The scenery may look the same, but everything feels different. The colors of life appear sharper, your discernment keener, your peace heavier. You are standing in a realm where grace is thick and time bends to obedience. Crossing the threshold doesn't remove every challenge, but it changes your relationship with them. The same storms that used to shake you now serve as confirmation that you are moving in power. You've crossed from reaction to authority, from fear to focus. The ground that once resisted your steps now supports your stride. Scripture says in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 3, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as he promised Moses. But understand this, chosen, one crossing over also means separation. You will notice that not everyone can walk with you into this next chapter. Some will fade gently. Others will resist the change in you. Don't mourn what falls away. It's not rejection, it's refinement. Every new dimension demands a shedding of the old. When Israel crossed the Jordan, not everyone from the wilderness entered the promise. Not because they weren't invited, but because they weren't willing to shift. Likewise, you cannot drag hesitation into destiny. The weight of yesterday cannot survive in tomorrow's atmosphere. The crossing is also internal. Something deep within you has awakened a clarity that can no longer tolerate compromise. You can sense when something is off. when words carry wrong motives, when environments drain your spirit. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You've tuned your frequency to heaven, and now anything that doesn't match that sound feels foreign. In this new space, peace is your passport. You don't chase it, you carry it. You no longer beg for doors to open. They open when you arrive. You no longer seek validation. Your presence itself is proof of divine approval. That's the beauty of crossing. You become what you were once praying for. Still, don't rush to move too quickly. This side of the threshold requires adjustment. Think of it as spiritual altitude training. You've ascended, and your soul must learn to breathe in thinner air. There will be days when it feels overwhelming, when the magnitude of purpose feels too large to hold. But remember, you were fashioned for this height. Grace is your oxygen now. You will begin to notice how divine order surrounds your path. Conversations align without effort. Opportunities find you without striving. You speak, and heaven echoes. You move, and favor follows. This isn't coincidence. It's consequence, the result of obedience meeting divine timing. And yet, stay humble. The higher you rise, the quieter you must become. Those who carry true authority don't need to announce it. They embody it. Let your presence do the preaching. Let your consistency speak louder than your declarations. Heaven's promotion always comes with heaven's expectation that you reflect glory, not hoard it. This is the sacred responsibility of the chosen. You were not elevated to be admired. You were entrusted to be effective. The anointing on your life isn't decoration, it's deployment. You've crossed over not just to live differently, but to lead differently. You will soon realize that crossing the threshold wasn't an ending, it was an activation. The same spirit that carried you through the wilderness now pushes you into influence. Not influence for applause, but for impact. You are being positioned as a key in the hands of God, unlocking doors for generations to come. Pause for a moment and let this truth sink in. You made it. The tears, the waiting, the breaking, they were all worth it. You didn't just survive, you transformed. The person who stood trembling before the door is not the one who stands here now. You are steadier, wiser, radiant with the residue of obedience. Welcome to the other side. This is what purpose feels like: peaceful yet powerful, quiet yet undeniable. Every breath now carries assignment. Every word you speak now builds legacy. And though the road ahead will still hold battles, you will walk them as one who knows. Victory is not something to win, it's something you carry. You have crossed the threshold, and the heavens rejoice. Chosen one. The air on this side of the door feels weightier, doesn't it? The silence here is not emptiness, it's holiness. You have entered an atmosphere unlike any you've known before. It's the realm of fulfillment, but also of stewardship. The light around you glows differently now. It no longer comes from the outside, it radiates from within. You carry the evidence of encounter. You have become the atmosphere you once prayed to enter. This is the new territory of favor, and with it comes the gravity of responsibility. Favor is not random, it is entrusted. It demands discernment, humility, and continual alignment. It can open doors kings cannot, but it can also expose motives hearts conceal. That's why the weight feels heavier now. You are walking in a dimension where blessings are tools, not trophies. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, Chapter 75. Verse 6. No one from the east or the west or from the desert can exalt themselves. It is God who judges. He brings one down. He exalts another. Oh, that verse is your compass in this new realm. Promotion is not a reward for talent. It's the result of trust. God elevates those he can rely on, those who will not worship the platform more than the presence. He didn't lift you to make you seen. He lifted you so his glory could be seen through you. You will begin to feel the pull of this reality quickly. The same people who once ignored you may now seek your wisdom. The same voices that dismissed your dreams may now echo your words. But the chosen do not gloat. They guard. You will need to remember that this favor is not yours to keep, it's yours to circulate. Every breakthrough you carry becomes a bridge for someone else. Every revelation you've received becomes a resource for those still searching. That's the rhythm of the kingdom God gives to you so he can give through you. And when you pour out, heaven refills. The flow never stops, it only strengthens. Yet with this favor comes subtle danger, not of failure, but of distraction. The enemy knows he cannot block what God has blessed, so he attempts to dilute it. He whispers pride in moments of praise and exhaustion in moments of success. He tempts the chosen to confuse productivity with purpose, but wisdom knows the difference. Productivity is movement. Purpose is meaning. You can be busy and still barren if heaven is not in it. So guard your focus. Chosen one, protect your intimacy with God as fiercely as you once fought your battles. Because in this realm, your strength is not tested through survival, it's tested through stewardship. Can you remain humble when you are honored? Can you stay hungry when you are full? Can you still hear the whisper when the applause gets loud? If you can, you will discover that favor has a rhythm. Give, receive, rest, repeat. You were never meant to live in constant striving. Divine favor does not demand performance. It invites partnership. The greatest leaders of heaven are those who move at heaven's pace. You are not chasing opportunities. Opportunities are chasing the aroma of your obedience. On this side, peace takes on new meaning. It is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of clarity. You begin to realize that what you carry inside cannot be threatened by what happens outside. Storms no longer intimidate you, they instruct you. They remind you to stay rooted, to remember that authority flows from stillness, not noise. This is why the atmosphere feels heavier. It's not a burden, it's the density of glory. The same God who carried you through seasons of silence now surrounds you with significance. And as you walk deeper into this realm, you'll notice that your words carry new weight. Conversations change. Environments shift when you enter. That's not coincidence, it's covenant. You have become a carrier of presence. But don't mistake the new for finality. The other side of the door is not the end, it's an unfolding. You're standing in a garden of assignments, each one waiting to bloom under your care. The promises of God are not static, they grow as you grow. Favor multiplies with faithfulness. Chosen one, this new atmosphere is sacred soil. Every step you take is planting something eternal. Walk gently. Speak wisely. Rest deeply. Let gratitude become your rhythm. Humility, your fragrance. And peace, your constant companion. You have crossed into the territory of glory, not to boast, but to build. Every miracle that follows will point back to the one who opened the door. Remember, you are not the source, you are the vessel. Carry this awareness with reverence. for as long as you breathe. This light within you will call others home. Chosen one. You've walked through the fire, stepped through the door, and now stand in the glow of divine purpose. But purpose was never meant to be a private possession. It is a flame meant to ignite others. The call has never been about you alone. You are a spark in a vast constellation of destiny, a voice meant to awaken voices. The favor that rests on your life is not an endpoint. It's a beginning. You have become a carrier of light. And light fulfills its purpose only when it shines where darkness remains. That's why your story must be told, not for vanity, but for victory. Someone out there is still standing in front of their own closed door, wondering if it will ever open. They are waiting for proof that obedience works. You are that proof. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." This is your harvest season. But the field is larger than you. Every word you speak, every act of kindness you give, every moment of faith you share becomes a seed that heaven multiplies. Your light has reach. Your obedience has ripple. The world is a vast field, and the chosen are its sowers. Imagine your journey as a lantern. Walk through a dark valley. Each step you take lights the path, not just for you, but for those behind you. When others stumble, they'll find your footprints glowing faintly, guiding them forward. This is why your presence matters more than you realize. You are a living lighthouse. Your endurance has become instruction, and sometimes spreading that light is as simple as sharing what you've received. When you share a message that spoke to you, it's not just content, it's confirmation for someone else's prayer. When you like a word that resonated in your heart, you're sending a spark into the digital wilderness, saying, "There's hope here." When you subscribe, it's not about numbers, it's about nourishment. It's about choosing to stay connected to a stream that keeps your faith alive when the world tries to drain it dry. Think of this space, this community, as a great vineyard where the fruit of revelation is gathered. Each like is a drop of water on a growing vine. Each share is a seed carried by the wind to new soil. Each comment is a song echoing across the field, telling heaven, "I'm still here. I'm still believing." And maybe right now, as you listen, something inside you stirs a quiet recognition that this message found you for a reason. You didn't arrive here by chance. You were drawn here by purpose. So, take a moment and comment below. Write what's rising in your heart. It doesn't have to be perfect, just honest. Maybe it's gratitude. Maybe it's a prayer. Maybe it's one line of faith. Your words could be the confirmation someone else was waiting for. Because the chosen are not isolated stars, they're constellations. Each light connects to another, forming guidance for those still lost in the dark. That's what happens when you engage not for attention, but for alignment. You become part of something divine, a living tapestry of faith stretching across nations, languages, and generations. Your voice matters here. The same God who shaped galaxies listens when you speak. So let your voice rise gentle, real, radiant. When you share, you become the bridge between someone's despair and someone else's hope. When you connect, you remind the lonely that heaven hasn't forgotten them. And as you give, heaven gives back. That's the divine exchange. You pour out what you've received, and God fills you again, like rivers that never run dry because they keep flowing. You remain full because you keep giving. You, chosen one, are no longer a seeker. You are a sower. Every like, every share, every subscription, every comment becomes a small flame, joining others to form a bonfire of faith. This is how revival looks in the modern world, not always through pulpits or pews, but through hearts linked by obedience and compassion. So keep shining, keep spreading, keep connecting, because what began as a whisper between heaven and you has now become a voice echoing across nations. You are part of something eternal, and through every simple act, every click, every word you are telling the world, light still wins. Let your presence here be more than passing. Let it be partnership, like a gardener tending divine soil. Keep watering what has been planted in you, and watch how many others begin to bloom because you chose to stay. Chosen one. This is what glory feels like, not loud, not blinding, but steady, like sunlight settling after a storm. The battles that once consumed your thoughts have gone quiet, replaced by a deep awareness that you have shifted from striving to flowing. You no longer chase favor, you walk in it. The season of proving has turned into the season of producing, but glory carries its own kind of weight, a pressure that is not punishment, but presence. It's the heaviness of meaning, the realization that every breath now holds purpose. What once felt distant is now within you. You no longer pray to find God somewhere out there. You sense Him woven into every part of your existence. This is the aftershock of glory, not the thunderclap of arrival, but the trembling peace that follows when heaven touches earth. Everything familiar feels slightly different now, not because it has changed, but because you have. You see with new eyes. You listen with new understanding. You move with quiet authority. The Word of God declares in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." That verse is no longer a promise for you. It is a present reality. You have arisen. The light has come. And now, the glory rests upon you like a mantle. You carry it in your words, in your silence, in the way you walk through ordinary days with extraordinary peace. Glory doesn't shout, it hums. It doesn't demand attention, it draws it. People will begin to notice something about you they can't explain. They'll say, "You look different, sound different, even move differently." But what they're sensing isn't you. It's Him in you. Glory is heaven's fingerprint on your life. Proof that divine touch leaves visible change. The aftershock of glory also brings restoration. What was lost in waiting begins to return, multiplied. Opportunities you thought were gone reappear. But this time you're ready. Relationships that once broke, you may now be revisited, not for rekindling, but for reconciliation. God restores not just what was taken, but what was wasted. Every tear sown in faith becomes fruit in this season. But be mindful, glory attracts both hunger and hostility. Some will draw near, wanting to taste what you carry. Others will misunderstand, seeing your transformation as pride. You must guard your heart in both directions. Stay generous with your grace, yet wise with your access. The same light that draws seekers also exposes motives. Walk in discernment, not defense. Chosen one. The greatest test after glory is sustainability. Many can experience visitation, but few can carry habitation. To remain radiant, you must remain rooted. The glory that rests upon you is not a fleeting moment, it is an abiding presence. But to keep it, you must keep intimacy. Spend time with the one who gave it. Not because you need something new, but because you long to remain near. In this stage, stillness becomes your secret weapon. You no longer need noise to feel alive. You find life in quiet. You no longer need validation to feel seen. You know heaven watches closely. The glory within you has redefined satisfaction. You've tasted something deeper than success. You've tasted significance. Every day now feels like an assignment disguised as ordinary. You sense God in the smallest moments, a conversation, a sunset, a stranger's kindness. This is the maturity of the chosen, recognizing that every moment, no matter how mundane, carry divine intention, you are learning that miracles don't always manifest in thunder. They appear in timing, in peace, in grace that feels effortless. This is divine acceleration in disguise. What others call coincidence, you now recognize as orchestration. The rhythm of heaven moves quietly, but it never misses a beat. And through it all, gratitude grows louder within you. You look back at what once broke you and realize it built you. You see that the silence, the storms, the stretching, all of it was preparation for this weight of wonder. You wouldn't trade any of it, because every wound became a window for His light to shine through. The aftershock of glory is not the end of the story. It's the confirmation that the story was real all along. You have become the evidence of what obedience can birth, what faith can forge, and what love can resurrect. Walk gently in this season. Chosen one, you are carrying heaven's fragrance now. Every room you enter changes because you exist within it. Every word you speak leaves residue of eternity. This is the aftershock of glory. The world feels lighter, yet you feel full. You are living proof that when heaven opens a door, earth is never the same again. Chosen one, everything has led here to this moment where understanding replaces striving, and peace becomes the rhythm of your breath. The light you now carry is not the flicker of emotion, it is the steady glow of revelation. You finally see that the door God opened was never just an opportunity, it was a lesson in trust, a journey into union with Him. You stand now in the realm of eternal doors, where endings and beginnings coexist. You realize that every door you've faced, whether a chance, a loss, or a call, was never truly external. The true doorway has always been within you. Heaven was not trying to move you to something, but into someone. Every crossing has refined your perception. You have learned that divine doors don't swing on hinges of convenience. They open on hinges of surrender. You've walked through many doors of obedience, of revelation, of glory, and now you understand that each one led deeper into alignment, into awareness, into awe, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. And that scripture is not merely a promise, it's your portrait. God has placed before you doors that fear could not close, opposition could not block, and weariness could not wither. You have walked through every one, trembling at first, but now steady, seasoned by surrender. The very strength you thought you lacked became visible in the steps you took anyway. Now you see that the open door was never about access, it was about awareness. It wasn't about reaching a new place, but becoming a new person. The door is not a destination, it's a revelation of identity. You are not merely the one who walks through it, you are the door through which heaven touches the world. When God said, "I'm opening the door," He wasn't referring to one event in time. He was unveiling a pattern, a divine rhythm that will repeat through your life again and again. Every time you face fear, faith will open another way. Every time you release control, grace will swing wide. Another entrance. The eternal door is not a one-time opportunity. It is the constant invitation to walk with Him in ever-deepening glory. Now you walk lighter. You no longer fear closed doors, because you understand that sometimes heaven closes one path to reveal the eternal passage beneath it. You no longer chase signs, because you've become fluent in silence. You no longer plead for favor, because you've realized that favor has been following you all along, waiting for you to slow down enough to notice. The eternal door is not about escape, it's about expansion. It opens you to see the sacred in the ordinary, to hear the divine in the mundane, to feel heaven's pulse in the human heartbeat. What once seemed separate now feels seamless, spirit and flesh, prayer and action, rest and purpose, all woven into one symphony of grace. You carry that symphony now. Wherever you go, you bring the vibration of heaven. Every place you stand becomes holy ground, not because of its location, but because of your revelation. You are a walking covenant, a moving doorway through which heaven breathes life into dry places. And as you move forward, you'll find that this pattern never ends. Life will bring new thresholds, some bright, some hidden, some painful, but each one will hold the same truth. The God who opened the first door will open the next. You are not running out of chances, you are running deeper into destiny. The eternal door is Christ Himself, ever open, ever inviting, ever unfolding. When you walk with Him, every moment becomes sacred entry, every breath another step into wonder. Eternity is not waiting somewhere distant, it has already begun within you. Look around. Chosen one. You've come full circle. Yet, higher than before, you've passed through trial and triumph, through silence and song, through wilderness and wonder. Now, stillness greets you like an old friend, and peace sits beside you like an heirloom. This is what being chosen means. Not that life grows easy, but that purpose becomes clear. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You whisper, "Thank you for trusting me." The door behind you is sealed in grace. The door before you glows with glory, and the door within you, your spirit, awakened and aligned, is forever open. Walk through every day knowing this. Heaven will always meet you at the next door. And when you reach the last, you will discover there never was a final one, only endless entrances into love. Chosen one. Before you go, pause for a moment and breathe. Let the journey settle in your spirit. You've walked through revelation, through silence, through fire and favor, and here you stand, changed. You are no longer the one who started this story. You have become the evidence of its truth. The doors have opened, and you have stepped through. Now, as you carry this light into the world. Remember, someone out there is still waiting in the hallway you've just left. They are listening for a sound, a sign, a spark. You can be that spark. When you share this message, you're not just passing words, you're passing torches. When you like, you're not boosting content, you're watering seeds of faith. When you subscribe, you're not joining a list, you're anchoring yourself to a river of continual reminder. A flow of divine encouragement meant to sustain you. And if something in these words has awakened something inside you, gratitude, peace, clarity, write it below. Your comment could be the exact confirmation another heart needs tonight. This space was never meant to be a monologue. It's a meeting ground of chosen souls. So carry the light forward. Pass it on. Let this flame continue to move from heart to heart until the whole world glows with the reflection of what heaven began in you. You are chosen. You are ready. You are never alone.